This is the new V Strom 650 XT in blue. Actually, it looks all right off the bike. When I'm on the bike, I don't particularly like the colour. But yeah, so today I'm taking out this V Strom 650 XT, and I will be popping back to the dealer shortly and taking out the new 1050 XT. So stay tuned, because I'm going to compare the two. This is not going to be a detailed specs comparison. I'll link to all the specs online, and you can see those, or you can look at my previous review of the 650 XT from last year, and that's pretty much the same as this bike. It's unchanged. Okay, so one of the things with the 650 that I quite like is the weight. It's very easy to maneuver around. It doesn't feel too heavy to handle. It's 216 kilos, but it feels okay. It feels very lightweight when you're on the bike. So I'm gonna go and ride it now. A lot of people will be using this for commuting. It's perfect for commuting. It's very handy around town, and I'll show you some town riding once I take it back into the dealer. I give a big thanks to the guys at Single Tracker Suzuki in Crewe. They've kindly let me borrow this bike for the morning. So you've got the Suzuki Easy Start system, so just one press and it starts up. You've also got Suzuki low RPM assist, so should I try and pull away without my throttle in, it will just raise the revs just to pull away. In terms of the weight, yeah, feels nice and manageable. The height of the seat is very perfect. I think it's about 830 millimeters, and I'm 6 foot tall, and I can flat foot this bike on both feet. The screen is adjustable, as I showed you, in 3 positions. At the moment it's in the middle position, so we'll see what it's like for buffeting and wind. But yeah, very light, very lightweight, manageable. Plenty of torque to get you up to speed. It's not in your face sort of power when you twist the throttle. I mean, you can jam the power on full throttle and it's not going to scare you, but it's plenty to overtake traffic. Handling is very nice. It tips in, leans in nicely. Brakes are adequate. Yeah, adequate, that's the word for them. They're not super sharp or anything, but they do the job. Riding position's very neutral, very comfortable. The seat is very comfortable. The mirrors are great. Yeah, position on the handlebars is lovely. 60 miles an hour, 6th gear, just over 4,000, about 4,500 RPM. It'll cruise like this all day, this bike as well. I've done it before on an older model and on my 2019. And you can cruise all day because it's got a 20-litre fuel tank, and the fuel economy on this is quite a bit better than the 1000. I'll have to check out the 1050 what that's like. Brakes are a little bit soft initially, but they're okay. Yeah, they're not bitingly sharp, but they're perfectly fine. And it feels light. It feels very, very nimble for an adventure bike. Compared to riding my 1000 earlier in the year, it's fun. I tell you what, it's pretty fun, this bike. I like it. It's a nice, simple, do everything bike. You can tour on it. You can have a little bit of fun in the twisties if you want. Yeah, you can definitely have some fun on this bike. I'm getting a little bit of wind buffeting on the very top of my helmet off the screen, but it's not on the highest position, so, and I can feel the buffeting is at the very, very top sort of inch or two of my helmet, so I think just raising the screen up slightly would probably improve that. And also obviously there's a lot of third-party support for V Stroms, so it's easy to pick up a Givy screen. Givy, how do you say that? I don't know. Look at this, beautiful. This is perfect roads for the V Strom 650 here. Just windy bends, and there's plenty of power there to be doing legal speed limits and above. Let's go up into 6th gear, and we'll drop down to sort of 30, and we'll do a little roll-on test. The ride quality is very nice. It's absorbing all the little bumps in the road, giving a very smooth and compliant ride. The front fork is non-adjustable. You can adjust the rear shock for preload. So if you're taking a pillion, or if you're weighing up the bike with luggage, weighing down the bike with luggage, should I say. It's very relaxing to ride. It doesn't feel any effort to ride whatsoever. Everything about the bike is well balanced. It feels nice. It feels well balanced, like you could just cruise on it all day. Cornering's nice. The seating position's incredibly comfortable. The seat's comfortable. The pegs are nice and wide for your feet. And it's pretty comfy standing up as well. Commuting, this is perfect. So you get decent miles to the gallon. Average it's showing, and it's done 500 odd miles, this bike. Average is showing us 61 miles to the gallon, which is quite a bit more than I was getting on my 1000 earlier in the year. And you've got traction control settings that you can turn on and off. So you have what I'm in now, traction control 1, which is sort of standard. And then you have a traction control level 2, which they say is for wet weather riding and for loose gravel sort of road surface. Gearbox is very smooth, very, very smooth. Yeah, no false neutrals, no missed gears, no nothing. It's really smooth, and the engine sounds very, very smooth. I gotta say, I like this bike for a do-it-all bike. For what? I think this is just around about the £8,000 mark, but you can normally pick up some good deals with the dealers. Certainly if you buy up 2019 stock, which would be unchanged from this, apart from the colour schemes. Yeah, for £8,000 this bike will do anything if you wanted to. You could go to Europe on this, and I have done on these. You can commute on it, and for commuting, someone was asking me the other day, you know, for a 20-mile commute, is it worth getting the 1000? Well, we'll see in a minute when I go back to the dealers and pick up the 1050 XT. But for commuting, I can't see that you'd really want much more than the 650, to be honest. It's more economical, it's lighter, so it's easier to manage around town. I mean, what more could you want? Nice, beautiful lake. And here we are, we're going to do a bit of round town riding now, just to see what it's like when you've got to nip in and out of town. I mean, I know it's not going to be a problem for this bike. You've got that low RPM assist. The clutch is pretty light on it. Yeah, it's pretty light, the clutch. It's not super light, but it's light enough. The gearbox is super smooth, so you're not going to have any issues sort of going up from first to second around town, or finding neutral. Mirrors are fantastic, so they give you a great view if you're commuting, and if you're in sort of city traffic, you've got a great view of what's going on around you. Nice tall high riding position, so you get a good view over traffic. Let's go over some level crossing. Yeah, soaks up the bumps brilliantly. Switch gear is very simple but nice and effective. Gives you nice sort of feedback on the dials, or the controls even. I like his bike. Cute with the basket on. Yeah, it's nice to ride around town. It's no effort at all. You don't feel any weight in any part of your arms, your wrists, anything like that. It's no effort to ride around town at all. This would be a perfect commuter. It's fine. The handling at slow speed is fine. You've got quite a decent turning circle on it as well, so easy to wing in and out of places. Yeah, God, this is perfect. Around town, this bike is perfect. And just chugging in second gear at like 16 miles an hour there, it's got no issues whatsoever. Very smooth throttle. There's no jumpiness on the throttle at all when you're riding around town, which is great. Big ass comfy pillion seat. 2-up touring, fine on this bike. It hasn't got a hell of a lot of power once you get to 70, 80. Perhaps for sort of higher speed overtakes, but it could still do it. You just got to rev the engine a little bit more. I think this is a fun bike if you want a one bike adventure bike, but you use it perhaps for commuting. You want to do a little bit of touring on it, and then the odd Sunday afternoon scratch out in the twisties. I think you're looking at this. Has got to be a contender. So I'm taking this back to the dealers now, and I'm going to take out the 1050, and we'll see how it compares. If you want more details on the 650 XT, I owned one of these last year. It's a 2019, but it's exactly the same. It was an XT as well, so it's exactly the same. Go and check out that review. I'll put a little link up there now, that little information card. That will be a link to the 650 review. That will give you more details about seat height, horsepower, the brakes, you know, all that sort of stuff. Alright, so we're back and we're on the new 2020 V Strom 1050 XT. And I'm going to take it out for a ride. I'm going to do the same little test ride that I've just been on. And we'll see what we think compared to the 650. So first up, it's going to be a little bit of town riding. It feels perfectly fine. You can feel a little bit of weight more than the 650. The weight feels slightly higher up here in the tank. But yeah, it's certainly manageable. Again, the seat height's slightly higher on this at 850. The seat height is adjustable. It's 850 to 870 millimeters on the adjustment. And I am just raising my heels as I'm sat on it at lights with both feet though. Very comfortable position. Plenty of balance. The biting point on the clutch is just out a little bit further than I like. Engine feels super smooth around town. And I'm just going to go through the updates for this model compared to my 1000. The engine is pretty much the same. They've increased the power by about 6 horsepower to make it Euro 5 compliant, I think. But it's basically the same engine. They have raised the torque curve, so they say. So I think there should be more power, sort of a bit higher up. The power on the old 1000, it started, well, it peaked at 4,000 RPM, and on this one I think it will, yeah, it spins up a little bit faster. And then standard on this model, I'll show you sort of the exterior things when we get off and have a little walk around. But just off the top of my head, they've added sort of crash bars down here. Again, it's the XT, so you've got hand guards, you've got metal side plates around the engine mounting. You don't have a bash plate. You've got spoked wheels. I'd have to adjust that clutch and pull it in slightly. And obviously it's got a lot of electronics now. It's a ride-by-wire throttle. And it's got different power modes, A, B and C. It's got traction control settings 1, 2 and 3. And it also has a couple of ABS settings plus an off setting. But it feels just as comfortable as the 650, very slightly heavier when you're riding it. We'll see what it's like when I get off it. But yeah, still very manageable around. Very nice guy. Still very manageable around town. Engine is smooth as expected. Throttle, it's a ride-by-wire throttle, and I'm in A mode, which is supposedly the twitchiest, you know, the jerkiest out of the lot. No issues whatsoever. That's not jerky. I've noticed a couple of people saying it's a bit, whoop, it's a bit lively, you know, it's quick to react. I'm not noticing that. The weight is, yeah, still, it's definitely heavier than the 650. I know that's obvious by the stats, but it definitely feels heavier, but it doesn't feel heavy. And it feels, oh, it turns in, oh, it's gonna, that's pretty nimble. Big update as well. We've got this digital dash now, which is pretty nice, to be honest. I'm in bright sunshine at the moment. It's 29 degrees, bright and sunny. You wouldn't believe this is the UK. And we got a gear position indicator. We got this digital tacho, which replicates an analog tacho, so I quite like that. I like the way Suzuki have done that. That's quite nice. We've got engine or coolant temperature. We got digital speedo. We got fuel gauge. We got an MPG, miles per gallon indicator here, what we're hovering around. And at the moment, oh right, okay, I'm gonna know how to read it. So at the moment, when I'm just going in traffic, second gear, 33 mile an hour, it's saying 50 to 60 miles per gallon. We've also got odometer, range till empty, which I presume I can flick through all these. I'll do that when I get out of town in a minute, but yeah. Then trip A, trip B. Oh, we got battery voltage indicator. and back to the odometer. Screen is adjustable and it's toolless. I'll show you that when we get off the bike. They have put it on the outside of the bike, which would have been quite handy to have it on the inside if you want to just move it as you're going along, but you do tend to, I suppose, set it and forget it. So once you've set it up, it'll be fine. We've got LED headlights and indicators on this bike, and all these external things I'm just going to go over and talk about in a minute. Let's just get through the traffic. I tell you what, around town it feels fine, nice, smooth. That's smooth on the throttle. I think people have got too heavy hands if they think that's a twitchy throttle. That's fine, no problem with that whatsoever. Mirrors are a slightly different design, so they're not the big barn doors of the 650 and the previous 1000, but perfectly good. They sort of taper up into the top right corner, so you get that nice view clearing over your shoulder. Clutch I will definitely have to adjust if I owned one. It's too far out. But that's adjustable. So you have got fully adjustable levers on your brake and your clutch. Switch gear looks nice. Actually looks a little bit of a step up design wise from the previous model. And again, it's just sort of a case of hitting select button here and you can flick through all your options. Feels light enough around town, I tell you what, it's comfy. You've also got cruise control on this, which works in 4th gear and above. And the dealer was actually showing me something. To disengage the cruise control, because it's a ride-by-wire throttle, you've got a little bit of play to go forward, and you just twist your wrist forward on the throttle and it will disengage the cruise control for you. Or obviously you can brake as well, which will do the same thing. Feels nice. It feels, it's weird, it feels lighter than the 1000 I had. It's not, it's about an extra, well, it's 247. The 1000 that I had was 233 kilograms. This one is 247 kilograms, but it feels lighter. It feels quite nimble. I'm looking forward to getting this out on the twisties in a minute. But so far, yeah, I'm very impressed, because the one concern I had with this bike is the weight, because 247 kilograms is not a light bike. And I know from experience that you can feel the weight of it when you're pushing it around and stuff. So we'll test that when I get off in a bit, when we get out of town, and see what it's like to push around. This one comes as standard, the XT model, with center stand as well, which I consider it an essential for a bike like this. I do not want to be pushing it around the driveway trying to clean the chain, so that would be definitely something you would upgrade if you were buying the 1050 model. The 1050 basically does without most of the electronic rider aids, as far as I'm aware. I think without the handguards, but I'll check it in the dealer when we get back, and also without the sort of the crash bars. So I can't see anyone going for the 1050. I don't see the point. You may as well get an old one at that rate. So this one comes in at £11,299, I believe is the retail price. I don't think there's going to be any major deals on that at the moment, as it's so new. But it's that's a pretty good deal if you compare it to sort of the top spec Triumph Tigers, the BMW GS's and things like that. You're getting a lot of bike for your money. Gearbox feels plenty smooth enough. Yeah, it's just a bit more weight to tip in around roundabouts and things like that than the 650. The 650 just feels a little bit more nimble. I tell you what, the engine on this picks up quicker than it did on my old 1000. I can feel that immediately. The engine somehow feels lighter. Like it's not, I don't know, like it's not chugging along so much. It feels like it's more free revving, you know, it seems to rev quicker. They have changed the torque curve on it, and I think they've done a couple of other bits and bobs, but not a huge amount of change, but probably just different maps and things like that. But it feels like it wants to rev a little bit more. That'll be interesting to see. The screen I've got on the top position, and it's actually getting a bit breezy now, and I've got nothing on me at all, but we'll see when we get obviously to faster speeds. Clutch is slightly heavier than the 650. The clutch lever, the pull on that is just slightly heavier than the 650, but again pretty light. It's not going to be a problem at all. Throttle is very smooth. Yeah, You've got to be. Well, I don't see that that's a jerky throttle at all. I think that's fine. And I'm in he said full power mode, but it just adjusts the throttle response. And I'm in A mode, which is the most responsive. Nice. It feels light. It doesn't feel too heavy at all. Oh, quite damn it! I was hoping I wouldn't like this. Bollocks! This is going to end up costing me 11 grand today. But it feels nice. It feels. God, yeah, you could tour. You can do anything on this. You can go anywhere on this, and it's perfectly comfortable for around town riding. Oh yeah. Ooh, meaty. I like it. Yeah, definitely. I can feel the difference in power. It's more noticeable when you're riding them back to back. It's yeah, it's quite significant, but it's not. It doesn't feel like overwhelmingly powerful or anything like that. It's just, yeah, it feels like you've got more there on tap, which you have. This is I believe it's 106 horsepower now, and 100 newton meters of torque. So the torque is actually unchanged from the last year's 1000, but it feels different in the way it rides. Seat narrow. The seat's nice. The seat's a little bit firmer than the 650s, I think, but it's pretty comfy. The seat narrows at the front again, so you can get a bit more space to get your leg down. But my knees feel perfectly hugging into the tank. Yeah, but if you're doing a lot of round town riding, yeah, the 650 would be better, definitely. Almost. The 1000 is fine, but it's just not quite as light and nimble as the 650. The 650 feels lighter, a bit more manageable, but not that the 1000 is hard. And also the 650 just feels like it. Mind you, that turns in pretty good. You can feel the weight of this compared to the 650, definitely, but it's not something that feels uncomfortable. It doesn't feel ungainly or unwieldy. I like it. This one is the yellow version. There's also a nice, they call it burnt red or burnt orange, I think. It's a red version, red and white. I don't know, which one would you have? Comment down below. If you were going to have one of these 1050s, would you have the yellow or the red? I quite like the yellow. I always thought I'd prefer the red. I'm going to have a look. But I could tell you straight away, either of these bikes can do anything. You just feel like there's a bit more in reserve on the 1000 here in terms of the power. I'll check the brakes as well when we're going a bit faster, because that was one of the big improvements I noticed on the 1000 over my 650 before, is the brakes were quite a bit better. Whilst we're here as well, we've got adjustable front forks, fully adjustable, and obviously adjustment at the back as well with preload. The ride quality is very nice. It feels slightly firmer at the moment than the 650. Yeah, it feels slightly firmer, but it's absorbing the bumps. It's very comfortable. It certainly feels like a bigger bike though. Now I've rode them both back to back, the difference between the two is bigger than I remember. They do feel like very different bikes. How are we doing here? Yeah, you see, that's just got much more. Whoa. Yeah, much more power. Very it's slower to lean in, and it's slower to corner. It just requires a little bit more effort to corner, but it's still pretty good. It's better than the old bike. Just because I nipped along there and I was obviously going a bit faster, the screen does a good job of protecting me. The riding position's very neutral, very comfortable. As I say, my legs are, I think they're 33 or 34 inch inside leg. I'm 6 foot tall, and yeah, they feel comfy. Brakes, I'm testing them now because I can't see ahead. Yeah, brakes are sharper than the 650 as well. Got more initial bite on them. Yeah, you can definitely feel the weight though compared to the 650 when you're in slow moving traffic, but it's okay. But it's yeah, it's more noticeable. And the seat height as well is more noticeable. It feels about an inch taller because my heel is just right. Africa Twin, nice. Not so nice. Yeah, my heel is just, to be perfectly comfortable, my heel is just raising off the ground slightly. When I'm flat footing when I'm planting both feet on the ground, my heel is just raised up by like an inch, half an inch. Whereas on the 650, I was totally flat footing. Yeah, I can see why. I know what I do. I know the 650 is capable of long distance touring. You can definitely do it on that. But I can feel you'd want this. You'd want this 1000, 1050, whatever it is. It's the same 1037. You'd want this. It's got plenty on it. Yeah, it's nice. Oh, I like it. Corners nicely. Feels very stable, very compliant. The suspension through the corners. No bumping. No nothing. It sounds nice as well, the V-twin. It's a nice deep grumbly growl. The 650 sounds a bit anemic compared to this. So we'll get off this road in a minute and we'll head down to that little pub car park again. Let's feel the pickup on it. Yeah, it's definitely more. Yeah, it turns in nicely. Yeah, it's got loads of grunt. And let's just go up to, let's go into 6th and do the same test that we did on the 650 once we get out of here. I won't do it uphill, it's a bit unfair, isn't it? Okay, so we'll drop down to, what did I drop down to? 30. We'll drop down to 30 in 6th gear, same as the 650. Now we're at 30. Oh, it doesn't like that. No, it doesn't like that at all. There's quite a lot of, let's try it in, I've got people coming up behind me in a minute, so I'll just, 5th. Yeah, it's alright in 5th, doesn't like it in 6th. 5th is okay. So anyway, we're going to stop now and I'll take you around the bike. We'll have a little walk around. I'll show you some of the new bits on it. And we'll have a little push around of it as well. See how heavy this 247 kilos feels. Gearbox is nice, by the way. I heard a couple of people saying it was a little bit, not quite up to the normal Suzuki standards, but I haven't noticed anything at all there. Right, I'll switch to the phone and then we can have a look round. So, like I said, this is the 2020 V Strom 1050 XT. Brand new this year. Quite significantly upgraded in a few areas, particularly the electronics and obviously the styling. This is a yellow version. There's also a red and white version available, which the red and white version was the version I was thinking of buying if I was going to get one of these, but I quite like the yellow as well, to be honest. Design cues taken from the old DR bike, and actually designed by the same guy apparently. So you can see the styling is a little bit different. It's a little bit retro looking, but I like it. I like the style. Anyway, so the XT, we've got this fully adjustable screen, toolless. It's a little flick up mechanism, and then you can just slide up. Obviously you can't do that whilst you're riding, but you know, you do tend to do that when before you start riding, don't you? LED lights and indicators. The XT model, which is the one we're talking about today, has the hand guards, but again, just plastic, so it's wind protection, but not a lot else. Dual brakes at the front. I think they're 310mm. Tokiko calipers again. They are better than the 650, no doubt about it. They've got more initial bite, more stopping power, and a bit better feel about them as well. The 650s just feel a little bit spongy when you first come in on. The XT again comes with spoke wheels and crash bars on the side around the engine mounting, so that's pretty handy to have. That's nice. And then we have a little metal protection plate here for the side of the engine. No bash plate, but it would be easy to fix one because you've got the crash bars on. We have a centre stand as standard, which I just think is essential. I just wouldn't have one of these bikes without one. There's the preload adjust on the rear shock, and the fully adjustable front forks. We've also got a nice little accessory mounting bar here, which is quite good. I'm wondering if I can fix a camera on that. I reckon I could. Mirrors are a slightly different shape, but still very effective. We have adjustable clutch and brake levers. Here's the traction control. Again, works in 4th gear and above. And what I was saying about it is the obviously you normally throttle, but because it's fly-by-wire throttle, to switch the traction control, to switch the cruise control off, it's got a little bit of twist in the front. You can switch it off like that, apparently. LCD dash. I'll just turn it on so you can get a good look at it. So we're in bright sunshine now, and you might be getting some glare, but believe me, to my eyes, that is crystal clear and very visible. You've got the various A, B and C riding modes, they call them, which seems to adjust the throttle response. And then you've got 3 traction control modes and 2 ABS modes. Cruise control, 20-litre fuel tank. This looks a nice finish. It's plastic though, so tank bags, things like that, you're gonna have to mount them via those pain in the arse strap systems rather than magnetic one, which I've got a magnetic one. Here's the new seat. I'll shift my gloves out of the way for you. So the new seat is now 2-piece, and it's adjustable, height adjustable. I haven't looked where you actually can adjust that, but it's adjustable by about 20 millimeters. I think it's 850 to 870 millimeters. Look down this beauty. Nice colour, this yellow and blue. It's very nice. You'd want to put a little, look, the oil filter is very exposed there still, so you'd want to put a little bash plate on that, wouldn't you? I tell you what, it's a nice looking bike. I like it. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly do a quick push test, just pushing it around the car park a little bit, looking like a prat in front of everyone, but just to see the weight. Okay, so it's 247 kilos. This is where I wish I'd worked out a bit. Yeah, you can feel the weight more, definitely, but it's okay. Yeah, it takes a bit of effort to get it up on the stand. But yeah, it's yeah, you know, that's what you'd expect. It's significantly heavier. 247 kilos, so you're adding an extra 30 kilos on top of the 650's weight. Definitely makes a difference moving it round. It's okay, it's manageable, but it's definitely significantly more than 650. So planning your parking position might be an idea with this one a little bit more, so you don't have to move it around. Yeah, so again, big shout out to Single Tracker Suzuki and crew for letting me borrow these bikes. We're gonna have a little ride back now. I'll just give you a few final thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell, all that kind of stuff. So for me, the point of these test rides is actually because I'm thinking of buying one. I'm not just taking it out and, you know, just to get videos. I'm thinking of buying one, and so the decision for me, like a lot of you guys I suppose, is going to come down to, is this worth the extra money, and which one is going to do what I want the most, which is, for me, it's going to be touring and longer rides. And I suppose in the 650's favour, definitely the engine is fun, but it's not as powerful, but it is fun. I'd say the engines are split really. The 1000 obviously is more powerful, has more torque. I prefer it because it just feels more meaty. But in the 650's favour, it's lighter, and it feels lighter, particularly when you're moving it around, you know, if you're moving it in your garage or around really tight parking spaces in town or something like that. It never feels like it can get away from you, the weight of it, whereas this one does. The weight of it feels like it could get away from me, you know, tip over the wrong way, things like that. So you've got to be a little bit more careful with the 1000. What else in the 650's favour? Price, list price I think of 8499, but I think it's got 500 off at the moment with Suzuki deals, and you can always pick those ones up for a discount anyway, so the price is definitely in its favour. Twisty Fun 650, I think if you're going for short rides on a Sunday afternoon and you just want to thrash around lanes like this, twisty lanes like this, I think you'd have to say the 650 would probably be better for that due to its lightweight. But in the 1000's favour, it feels more commanding. Obviously it's got all these rider modes and stuff. I don't really put much weight into those, to be honest. Yeah, it's nice to have, but it doesn't really affect my buying decision. The 1000 feels, yeah, like you're in a bit more of a commanding position. Presumably the LED lights at night are going to be better. The screen seems to offer a bit better protection, and it's adjustable toollessly. It's got cruise control, which if you're going to tour Europe on, you know, motorways and stuff, definitely would be a nice thing to have. Again, it's nice to have. It's not exactly essential, but it's nice. The main thing I'd say is the engine's got more power, more grunt. Excuse me. The brakes are better on the 1050, definitely. Quite significantly better as well. It's not just a little bit better, they're significantly better. Fuel economy 650 is better, although this doesn't seem too bad. 51.6, 51.1. Got an adjustable seat on this one, although the lowest height is still slightly higher than the 650, so if you're shorter the 650 might suit you better. Which one for me is going to do what I want it to do? Here's the brakes. Yeah, very sharp. So as I say, if I was going to be commuting short distances, wanted a bike that would commute well, obviously if it's for work, money's going to come into it, and then just, you know, I could do everything on it, then I think the 650 with the savings would have to be the way to go. But if budget is not really a concern, and let's face it, this is still quite a bit below sort of the GS's and the Tigers and like the Multistrada, then yeah, which one do I want? Which one would I want out of the two? Well, after I got off the 650, mentally I said to myself, nah, I don't want that. I don't want to spend the money on it. So I think, yeah, it would have to be this one, this 1050. It feels like a more solid bike. The brakes are better, the suspension's adjustable and better anyway. The engine for me is better, because this is like what I would think of as a fairly long distance touring type bike. You know, I'd like to go up to Wales, I'd like to go up to Scotland on it, and I'm in Cheshire, so they're good rides out. And this one, although it'll cost me a bit more on fuel, and it's what, an extra £3,000, for me that's money well spent. And the 650 is a good bike, it would suit a lot of people, yeah, but for me, if I'm just being totally honest on what I think, I like the 1050. I feel like it's a nice quality bike, nice ride, plenty of power. I don't feel like I'm compromising on anything with the 1050. Overall, I think obviously it's, you know, you could come up with one of these snowflake fairy ass conclusions where you say, you sit on the fence and you say, oh well, the 650 is good for some people and the 1050 is good for others. What's the point in that? You've watched this whole video and you haven't had a decision. Basically, if you've got the money, get the 1050. It's a better bike. It's got more power, it feels more substantial on the road, it's got better brakes, it's got more instrumentation and rider aids, it's got a more easily adjustable screen, it's got engine guards, and it looks a lot nicer. You know, I know that sounds like shallow, but at the end of the day, most people who buy bikes, you want it to look decent, and for me the 1050 is the one that I'd get out of the two. There's no replacement for displacement, so they say. But then they also say it's not the size of the boat, it's the motion of the ocean. So who's right? I don't know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. he delivering Chupa Chups lollies? Fuck me. He's going round with a box of Chupa Chups lollies. Call the bloody police. Look at that. Fucking pedo job. Jesus Christ, mate. I'll blur out your reg plate so no one knows who you were. Well, I'll just hand that reg plate into the police as well, just in case, you know.